Hey Jack, what's going on, man? Hey Cash, what's going on, man? I'm doing good, Jack. Not doing too bad. Would be doing better if I wasn't losing so much money in the stock market and Bitcoin crashing, you know how it is. Been a bloody week. Bloodiest week of the past couple of years, probably. But that's what trading is, man. Ups and downs, ups and downs. Not all rainbows, man. Not all profits. You win some, you lose some. Cash, said the Hopium weekly trend lines are appearing on Twitter again. Yeah, all the weekly trend lines and the logarithmic trend lines and all that stuff. I was posting them in Discord as well. I'll show you guys my screen real fast. I was looking at this trend line. Where is it? If you go to a logarithmic scale, what's funny is I didn't even touch this. That just happened by itself. I grabbed this point to this point, and you have this perfect test right here. I didn't even zoom out. I just now noticed that right now. When you zoom out, that actually plays pretty much perfectly. But yeah, this is like the hopium line right here. You break this line and it's pretty ugly. Problem is, look at the Momo. Rolling over, massive lower high. Now you had a few instances where you had some lower highs, kind of like bear divs, not play out. And continued higher. But yeah, this is like the hopium curve. This line breaks, and it's bad news. Bad news indeed. Probably gonna fail all the way back down to like 4K. We could see like a deviation. We've never seen a deviation before. We saw like one wick. We've never seen a deviation where it kind of like fails and then curls back into it. But like, look at how steep this is. So for this to continue upward, it has to like damn near go vertical. You know what I mean? We'd have to go from like 79 almost straight to like 11, 12K. And then just continue higher, 16K, 24K. Like, I just don't think this is sustainable. It would have to literally go vertical. And there's nothing in the news that would make this go vertical right now. Like, this obviously was like the creation of Bitcoin, mainstream media hype, massive hysteria. This was kind of all the late buyers, people getting liquidated, and then all the late buyers getting in. But now what is it? Like, what is our reason to pump now? You know what I mean? We had the initial hysteria. We had the late buyers. What do we have now? The argument would be, oh, the markets are crashing. Everybody go to Bitcoin. It's a hedge against the equities market. I don't think so. Now, we've talked about correlations with like the SPY and gold and whatnot many, many times on stream. And like I've always said, there are correlations, but they're not like tradable correlations, right? They're not strong enough to where you could trade them efficiently. The only correlation with Bitcoin and the S&P 500 that is very strong is typically when the S&P 500 takes a dump and nukes. Typically Bitcoin nukes as well. That is one of the strongest correlations. So like, as you can see, when the S&P 500 nukes, typically so does Bitcoin. That is one of the strongest correlations. But besides that, the correlation is not exceptionally strong. Like, I understand that the S&P is historically very bullish. Bitcoin, historically very bullish. But just because they're both historically very bullish does not mean they're correlating to each other. Does that make sense? Like, correlation does not equal causation, right? But it does show that when it has a very drastic failure, this one didn't play out very nicely, but that one did. And then here. Typically, when it has a drastic failure, Bitcoin also has a drastic failure. That is a strong correlation. Besides that, there's not a very efficient correlation. Like, just by saying, historically, S&P is going up, so is Bitcoin. They must be correlated. That just doesn't make sense. But yeah, so I think that logarithmic, like speaking on the logarithmic scale, for this to continue, it would have to be extremely, extremely bullish. And for that to happen, for that kind of bullish strength, you would need some kind of catalyst, right? Like, this was the mainstream media hysteria catalyst. This was like the late, all the late people who missed out on the big 2017 move getting in. There is no catalyst for this. I mean, like, the only catalyst, like I said, you can argue, is the market's tanking. Maybe people really do start buying Bitcoin because the markets are tanking. That is like the only catalyst that Bitcoin could have here. Oh yeah, by the way, I did change my color scheme back. I know I keep changing my colors back and forth, back and forth. We are back to our default black and white chart. That's the one you drew too, Cash. You said, what do you think about people calling an inverse head and shoulders? Yeah, I talked about that in Discord. There's multiple head and shoulders. There's the daily head and shoulders, which is breaking to the downside. And then we also have the weekly inverse head and shoulders. Funny thing is for this weekly inverse head and shoulders to play out, the logarithmic scale would have to also play out. So if this starts to kind of play out like this, then this would be an extremely, extremely bullish pattern. If you see anything like that, where it starts to kind of curl up and consolidate, I would definitely buy that. That's an extremely bullish pattern. You're holding the logarithmic long-term scale and you're pushing towards the inverse head and shoulders neckline. So yeah, I agree with both. I'm not a very big head and shoulders trader, you guys know that, but I do agree with this analysis that these are head and shoulders. The daily head and shoulders and then the weekly head and shoulders. I agree with that. Jack said, bad news for some and good news for me. Sorry, man, but I want to buy me some cheap Bitcoin. Yeah, man, no. I'm hedged right now. I'm technically flattened. I'm still holding my long, still holding my short. I'm technically flattened, but I did take a pretty big loss when I hedged. I started buying way too early. I broke some of my rules. I typically, like I told you guys, even in my video, I talk about my Fibonacci technique. My Fibonacci technique, I typically buy in the buy zone, right? I buy between the 50 and the 618 when I'm doing long-term trades like this. I broke some of my rules. I got very bullish a little early and I started buying here. So when it nuked, instead of entering my trade, I'm already losing a lot of money. And then on the break of the 618, I hedged. And this is very, very rare what we're seeing right now, which is kind of killing me. But very rare that we break the 618 and then immediately try to consolidate below it and regain it. You don't see that very often. And since it's doing that, it's killing my my position. But yeah, I'm hedged. I would like for this to... best case scenario for my hedge, I would lose a lot of money, but I would also make some money on my short. If it fails downward to like retest this accumulation, and then I take profit on my short, and then we start to recover. That would be best case scenario. Obviously, that's like praying for the best, right? Very unlikely, but that would be best case scenario for me. And yeah, I talked about it on Twitter. People like traders on Twitter and traders like public traders, they always try to show you the good, not the bad. And I made a whole tweet thread about all my bad decisions the past year in my trading. This has been a pretty rough year for me starting now. I was actually doing very good until this kind of recession hit. But I was not prepared for this. I started buying emerging markets ETFs in mid-2019. They were doing very well. The market was doing good. Economy was doing good. Everything was good. And then coronavirus hit, absolutely destroyed emerging markets. And my positions got pretty beat up. Thankfully, I wasn't too deep in emerging markets. I just started building my positions. But yeah, those got beat. And then late 2019, I saw what was going on with coronavirus. And it started nuking oil, right? So I thought, okay, so the demand on oil is getting destroyed, right? So oil's going to plummet. I was buying the blood on oil thinking that OPEC would be like, holy shit, we need to come to an agreement to lower the supply of oil because the demand is getting destroyed because of coronavirus. That was what I was thinking. That was my thought process. I thought they were going to lower the supply to catch up with the demand so that the oil market would not see what we're seeing now. I was completely wrong. Instead of lowering supply, a complete crude war started, and they ramped up supply. Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia and Russia cannot agree on oil price, so now they're just fighting each other pumping out millions of barrels. So they increased supply while demand is disgustingly low, destroyed my oil position. So I lost a lot of money on that as well. And then my final bad decision the past couple of months was, like I just said, I started buying Bitcoin a little too early, and now I'm paying the price. So all that combined, I've lost a decent chunk of money in the past couple of weeks. I'm still positive on the year. I'm still positive on the past couple of quarters. So I'm still doing good. But this is definitely a setback for my trading wallet. But yeah, so Dr. Brum said, do you see 4K again as a possible bottom for a midterm bear market? I think it's way too early to call 4K. I think it's way too early. I don't do that kind of analysis. I like looking at the most recent support, most recent resistance, and doing my analysis based on that. I hate looking past these levels and trying to make predictions, saying we're going to go back to 4K. If I did have to make a prediction like that, I would say that if we break this logarithmic curve and we don't instantly deviate it and regain it, I say that, yeah, we probably could go to 4K. But I'm not going to make that decision just yet. What I am thinking is, if we do fail here, we have a clean support right here around this accumulation. This is a very, very strong support. So we should see some buy relief from that support. Now, if that support does not show any relief, it's looking very bad, and we probably will see 4K. Dr. Brum said nobody expected Saudi Arabia's movement. Yeah, very little people did. There's a lot better traders out there. I definitely don't think I'm the fucking best trader in the world. There's tons of traders who made a lot of money off of this, like, recession pullback. I keep calling it a recession. I know it's not technically a recession. I think it is a recession. So I'm going to keep calling it that. But there are a lot of traders out there that made a shit ton of money on oil. They made a shit ton of money on coronavirus. They made a shit ton of money on the pullback in the markets. I just was not in the right position. I did not make really any money. I lost money on this pullback. So, like I've always said, I've got a lot of room for improvement. I'm still pretty young. I'm only 24 years old. I've never traded anything like this. I've never traded a recession. I've never traded a pandemic. I've never traded anything like we're seeing currently. So this is my first time. Hey, Sneaky Chi. Appreciate that, man. 14 months. Really appreciate that sub, man. Welcome back, welcome back. But yeah, so like I said, I'm pretty young. I've never traded anything like this. So it's definitely a learning experience for me. Hey, Jack, I appreciate that. But yeah, so I'm going to get started here in a little bit on our EXOCharts final walkthrough. It's going to be really short because there's not a lot to go over here on this section of the walkthrough. But what I wanted to say before that, so we are entering the final stages of this partnership that I've been talking about for some time. You guys don't know who it is just yet, but I'll reveal it here in probably the next week. We're entering the final stages of this partnership. We have to do a lot of changes to the website, and we have to get some stuff done for this partnership. So what I'm going to be doing is, after today, I'm going to be taking a break from stream. I have not taken a break in a very, very long time, and I think it'll be good for me. So I'm going to be taking a break from stream for probably about a week. So today's stream will go as normal, and then I'm taking Thursday off, I'm taking Saturday off, and I'm taking Sunday off. So I'll see you guys back on Tuesday, most likely. But yeah, I have not... Oh, did I spam that? I'm sorry, Spitox. It only shows once for me. My bad if I spam that. But yeah, so I'm going to be taking like a week off. And we'll be back. I'm still going to be in the Discord and everything. I'm just taking a break from stream. So I'll still be in Discord. I'll still be posting stuff in Discord. I'll still be doing tutoring if you guys want to do tutoring. Yeah, so we'll still be trading and everything. I should probably take a break from trading, but it's just impossible to take a break from trading right now with the current market we're seeing. But yeah, I'm going to take a break until Tuesday, and then we'll be back to normal on next Tuesday. Yeah, sorry, I didn't... see, look, I'll show you. It only shows me once. It only says I did it one time. I have to click it like 5 times for it to work. That's probably why. But yeah, we'll be taking a break, and then I'll come back. I'll come back on Tuesday. 12K by June? I still think so, man. As long as it holds this logarithmic curve. As long as it holds this logarithmic curve, if we regain this buy zone, I think we could easily see 12K by June. But with the current market sentiment, with all the markets bleeding, it's very hard. Very hard to call a 12K by June. I got caught with my pants down on this move here. I saw this potential bull trap. I did not think it was going to be that violent. I was watching this potential bull trap here, but it came at me so fast that I was not prepared. Excuse me. You guys saw on Twitter that I was making a prediction. It wasn't like a real prediction, but it was like half and half. I was doing it for a giveaway, but I was also making a prediction for what I assumed. But I called out 9,500 by 313, so by this Friday. Looking at the CME gap, the nice bullish strength coming in, that was a nice little number that I wanted to use for our little giveaway. And we were completely wrong. There was the pullback in the markets destroyed Bitcoin. I also still don't know like if this is from the market or if this is from Plus Token. I feel like it's a little bit of both. Because I was reading about the Plus Token stuff, and people were talking about how much money they're moving around, and what exchanges they're moving the money to, and yada yada. So I think it is a little bit of both. I think Plus Token is selling off a lot of their Bitcoin, along with the market just bleeding. But yeah. So if you guys haven't seen that tweet already, there is a tweet that I posted on Twitter. I made a prediction, 9,500 by 313. If I'm wrong, I'm going to be giving away Discord access to one person who likes that tweet. And I'm also going to be giving away Discord access to somebody who retweets that tweet, because of we hit 1,000 followers on Twitter and we hit 1,000 subs on YouTube, which I really appreciate. You guys have been helping me a lot on my other platforms. I know Twitch is kind of getting a little slow lately. We've kind of got all the followers that we can get from Twitch. But my other platforms are growing pretty quickly, and I do appreciate that, guys. Before we get started, I'm going to go get some water. And then we're going to get started on our EXOCharts final walkthrough. So if you guys haven't already, I posted I didn't post the actual highlight for the walkthrough just yet, but the stream for the walkthrough is already on YouTube. If you guys are watching this VOD and you haven't already watched part 1, go back and watch part 1. There is a stream, I believe it was on Saturday or Thursday? It was either Thursday or Saturday stream. So check that out. I'm gonna go get some water and we'll get started. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Did you check the chart I sent? I didn't see you send a chart. Let me see. Did not see it. Let me take a look. He said it's sitting at a significant daily and weekly support and a significant EMA plus log trend line. What EMA is that? Is that 200 or something? Jack said even professional traders make mistakes. Win some, you lose some. Yeah, definitely, man. Part of the game. You just don't want to let single trades destroy your account, right? That's the 500 EMA, but it's been played off very nicely. Yeah, I'm thinking about closing my hedge pretty soon. It's getting a little scary for my hedge. My hedge is about the middle of this range, so I'm a little negative on my hedge. It was a hedge just to protect me while I sleep. So I've had it open for the past 2 days just in case of a 5 a.m., 6 a.m. failure. So I basically flattened with a short just so I didn't get destroyed overnight. And it's been protecting me for the past few days, but now I'm starting to lose money on my hedge. So I do have to be careful holding on to it. I'm still holding my long, man, and I hedged it. I flattened it out with a short. So I flattened it out basically right down here just to protect me, like I said, overnight. So I basically locked in this loss right here. I've taken a loss. Well, not that whole thing. I've taken a loss on... where's my average? It's like here to here. I've taken this loss, which is a pretty decent loss. But it's not realized. It's just flattened. So what I mean by that is like... I took a long here. I was in profit, and then I lost that profit, and then I flattened it out with a short to protect me overnight. Very, very bad setup. I'm trying to work it back into a decent setup, but right now it's not looking too good. Yeah, my average is on. Let me see. What's also killing me is this was such a violent move that it destroyed the premium on June. So I was also trading the premium on June, and the premium got beat because it's such a volatile move. My average is, let me see. It's like 9,000. Yeah, it's a pretty decent loss. I'm down about 9%, which is very easily gained if we see some volatility towards the CME gap. If we start to fill this gap, I can easily make money on my long. That's basically what I'm playing into right now. We can see a daily bull div on the CME on the 12-hour and the daily. So it looks really good on the CME. Looks really good. I need to be careful with my hedge though. I can't keep this hedge open. I'm gonna realize the losses on my hedge pretty soon. The hedge did its job. I took it during this first failure to protect me overnight from these 2 days, which I actually had a decent profit. I could have closed my hedge. In hindsight, obviously, I could have closed my hedge for a decent profit. It was somewhere around 3%. So it protected me overnight from these failures, which is why I wanted to open it. Typically, if I get caught offside on a big volatile move like this, I'll do what I'm doing now. Overnight, I'll open up another trade to flatten to protect me overnight, so I don't go to bed and wake up and I'm down 10%. Yo, it's not a textbook hedge. I just call it a hedge because I don't really have another term for it. That would make it easier for people to understand. But what I'm basically doing is I'm flattening my trade. So I'm flattening my trade with a different contract so that I can protect myself from overnight moves. So it's not technically a hedge. Like I said, I just don't know what to call it. So I just call it a hedge. I've always called it a hedge, so it's just kind of a bad habit. Spittalk says, is that the first time we have a CME gap that big? I'm not entirely sure if that's like the biggest CME gap ever, but it's definitely one of the biggest. It's huge. We had some big gaps like here and here. I don't know how big they were. Let me see. That one was 9%. This one was 5%, so that wasn't that big. You have some pretty decent ones here in 2019. Yeah, this one's 12% on that one. 7% on that one. So yeah, you have some decent gaps. How big is this one? This one's like 10 or 12, isn't it? I think it's like 12. Yeah, it's 10. So yeah, so we've had bigger ones. But this is one of the biggest. It's probably in like the top 10. Soldier said, did you 1x short? No, so that's a different type of trade. So what I'm doing is I took a long trade, and then to flatten it, I took the same exact size trade on a different contract in the opposite direction. So to cover my long, I took a short. It's a way of closing your trade without closing your trade, if that makes sense. I'm flattening my trade without realizing the loss. No, it doesn't lock in the loss. Okay, it locks in the loss, but doesn't realize the loss. It's a little complicated. I don't talk about it too much on stream. It's a little more advanced. But yeah, so it like locks. It's basically like closing your trade, but it's still open. It's confusing, but so where I closed, I'm using air quotes. Where I closed my trade was a very bad spot because this move was so violent that I just wasn't really able to close it anytime sooner. And most of this move happened overnight. So in hindsight, you guys are like, oh, why didn't you close here? Why didn't you close here? Why didn't you close? Most of this price action happened while I was sleeping. And you guys know I don't like putting in trades while I'm sleeping. So the majority of this I missed just by not being in my PC. And then when I finally closed it, it did its job. Like I said, the technique is there to protect me from overnight madness like we saw here. The hedge is doing its job. But I'm still losing money on it. Man said this 4% sudden crash on Bitcoin today caught me off guard. Yeah, that was also why I wasn't sleeping, but I wasn't at my PC. So I missed out on that little move as well. That's another thing that I'm going to do during the break. I'm going to take a break from stream. I'm going to get caught up on all my YouTube videos. I'm going to fix my sleep schedule. I'm tired of going to bed at like fucking 4 a.m. and waking up at like 12. It's not healthy. So during this break, I'm going to fix my sleep schedule, hopefully, and start waking up more around like 10 o'clock probably. So I can trade these morning trades. Might start getting back into stocks a little bit more now that the market's pulling back. He said price action before the halving has usually been pretty shitty. I've never personally traded a halving, so I have no idea what goes on. I've only been in crypto since 2017. I'm fairly new to crypto compared to most people. A lot of people have been in crypto for a long time. I've only been in since 2017. And it's late 2017 too, like September. So really only about 2 years. No, almost 3. 2.5, I guess. Did I miss any messages? I think I got everything. You guys have any final questions before we get started on the little walkthrough for EXOCharts? I'll hang out with you guys a little bit after the EXOCharts walkthrough as well, since I'm going to be taking a break from stream. We'll hang out for a little bit. Do I have any futures traders or like equities traders in here? Like, not just somebody who like casually trades equities or futures, people who like that is your number one trading platform, trading instrument. Anybody in here, do you guys trade futures or equities? I know I have a lot of people who use our indicators and stuff who trade futures. I get a lot of messages all the time, but nobody who's like actively in the community or in the live streams or anything. Most people who trade futures or whatnot are older people. Typically like late 30s, 40s. Possible bear div on Renko. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, good catch, good catch. Excuse me, possible div coming in, yep. So what I do, Spitox, is I like looking at the 10-minute, and to like get a quicker view on the bear div forming, I'll go down to like the 5 and the 1, just to see if it's forming a div on those as well. So like the 1 is forming a div, the 5 is forming a div, and the 10 is forming a div. Take a look at the, yeah, I've got an EMA here. I could turn into a 55. It's on 50. Talking about the weekly. Yeah, we're like holding price down. Do you wait for divs to form? No, so I don't wait for them to form on all time frames. I just like looking for like confluence. So like if I was saying on Renko, if I'm looking at a 10-minute div, I typically want there to be at least another div like on a lower time frame, maybe like a 5-minute. Or at least showing a loss in momentum. So it doesn't have to be a div, but as long as it's showing kind of like a curl over, like the momentum is failing, that's usually good enough for me. I traded in the Monday competition on Interdax. I got killed because I was trading these divs and they were being completely ignored. Where is it? I think it was this one here. So I started scalping this div right here, which is a risky, I knew going into it was risky, because there's two kinds of divs on the Momo. There's the single peak divs, where it's all one peak, and you see how it goes top to top, but it's one peak. These play out, but they play out a lot less than a double peak div. So I started scalping this div here, and it just kicked my ass. It stopped me out like 3 times, because I was using very, very tight stop losses. And then I don't think I tried this div. I did try this div. I tried this div, and then I didn't take profit here, and it pulled back. So it stopped me out. Because I lost 2 trades here, I didn't take profit here, so that I could make my money back on the scalp. I was looking for more of like a pullback to the lower range, and then it pulled back and stopped me out. So I lost 3 trades yesterday trying to trade these divs here. Sorry guys, fire truck going by. But yeah, so I realized my Interdax scalping technique is not working out in this current climate. I typically use like 0.3% stop losses. That's not going to work right now. Price is way too volatile, so I need to change my setup. I'm probably going to extend it to like 0.75% stop losses and lower my leverage. So I'm going to try that probably later this week. Or maybe even tomorrow. No, tomorrow I'm busy. Probably Thursday or Friday. Hey, Nader. Hey, man, I got the EXOCharts. I know it's been like 3 months in the making. You've been asking about it. I do apologize. It is a good time now, though, Nader. You can use EXOCharts for free. And I posted the video. I can't remember if it was on Thursday or Saturday. But that was the part 1. I'm going to do part 2 right now. Will said, do you ever use the awesome oscillator on finding your divs? I used to, way back in the day. The awesome oscillator was like one of the first indicators I started using in my trading. But I switched to using like RSI, MACD, yada yada, and now I only use Momo. So I use the indicator that I created. I took a lot of the techniques that I used to use when I first started trading, and I built the Momo kind of off of those techniques. And I found that the Momo is faster and more reliable than those other indicators. Now, obviously, I'm biased because I created the indicator, but you can ask other people who use it, and they'll tell you the same thing. Yeah, so Will, you can play the single peak divs. There's not very many good examples. They haven't been playing out lately. So here's a perfect example of when they don't play out. So if you have a single peak div, like we kind of saw during these little consolidation points, they don't play out if the trend is very strong. So if the trend is very strong, it will ignore those single peak divs. But if the trend is weak, and like you do start to kind of consolidate or reverse, that's when it will play those single peak divs. But like as you can see, so here, I think here's an example. Yeah, so here's an example. This is a single peak div. You see how it's rolling over, but price is extending upward, and then you fail downward? That's a single peak div. But here, you have like a double peak div. And then you have a single peak div did not play out, and then it turned into a double peak div. You see that? So you had a single peak div, was not strong enough because the trend was too strong, and then it turned into a double peak, and the double peak failed it. And then you had a continuation of that triple peak, quadruple peak, and you just kept going. The funny thing about the Momo is the Momo defies all rules of divergence, really. So typically with divergence, there's a rule in place that says, so like for example, if I'm using an RSI, my mouse wheel is not working, Jesus. If I'm using an RSI, the RSI has a pivot point, or sorry, a length. It has a length of 14, right? So the typical rule with divergence is you don't want to look for a divergence past your length. So like say we had a peak here, and then we had a peak way over here, and this created a divergence, right? The typical rules of divergence would say this is not a divergence because it's past the length. The length on the Momo is only 3. It only looks, on this histogram, it only looks back 3 candles. Well, I can't give away too much, but it looks back 3 candles, but it also is smoothed by 20 candles. So it has multiple lengths. But the Momo ignores that rule. The Momo ignores the rule where you don't look for a divergence past the length. That rule doesn't matter with the Momo. But typically with the RSI, the MACD, the other indicators like that, CCI, whatever, you typically don't want to look for a divergence if it's past the length. If that makes sense. I know it's a little confusing, but I made a divergence video way back in the day. I still have it. I was going to publish on YouTube, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new one. So we'll probably do that next week when I come back from my break. We'll make a new divergence video. I'll talk about all this stuff. But yeah, the Momo, don't worry about that. I mean, obviously don't look for divs like this. Like this is not going to give you a div. That's just outrageous. But the Momo ignores the rule where you only look for 3 candles. Like, if you were looking for only 3 candles, you would not be able to trade this. So just be reasonable. Don't be ridiculous with it. Sorry, let me catch up in chat. Nader said, I don't have much time to spend on the live stream, but I always watch the replay. Very good video on EXOCharts. I watched the first part. Hey, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to do the second part here in a few minutes. Just catching up with all your guys' questions and whatnot. Did I put this back to 50? Back to 50. What leverage are you using at the moment? So on my intraday trading, I start out at like 5 to 10x and I build it up to like 30. But it hasn't been very successful recently. I've been losing my intraday competitions. I'm not a scalper, man. And I don't have any techniques that are really beautiful for scalping. And I'm talking about like micro scalping, like really low time frames, like 5 minute, 1 minute, looking for 0.5% to 1% moves. I don't have any strategies that are well designed for that. So I'm still trying to work on those strategies. Will said length equals the candle close. Length is whatever the indicator is set to. Like this would be the length, this would be the length. The RSI would be like the length of 14. Hey Robert, what's going on, man? What are you thinking about this short? Let me take a look. So you're looking for a retrace to about 8,400. I like the idea. You're like shorting the range low. Your stop loss might be a little tight because if you do wick the range low, you're going to get stopped out. But yeah, I like the idea. You're shorting the range low. That's a technique that I've used. You said this is the monthly range at 85.46, and I think it's a good place. Yeah, I like that. The range lows are always a good retest. It's like my accumulation technique. You're trading the retest of an accumulation. Not a bad trade. All right, guys. You guys have any final questions? We're gonna get started. I know we kind of went off topic there a little bit. You're using leverage with a tight stop. Yeah, that's not a problem, man. As long as you manage your risk. Do you see a bearish head and shoulders? Yeah, we talked about it in the beginning of the video, before you got here. We were talking about both the head and shoulders. There's a daily head and shoulders that's breaking to the downside. And then we also have a weekly head and shoulders inverse. I can see both parties. I can see both parties. Here's a good example of a single peak div. You see how you're losing momentum while price is rising, but you don't make that secondary peak? I mean, you kind of do. You have a single peak div and a double peak div because you have that peak right there. So a good example of both. Single peak, double peak. And once again, another great example. Single peak doesn't play out that well. The double peak plays out beautifully. This is a good way to test your patience, which I was not doing well. I was not testing my patience yesterday. When I was trying to take those divs, where was it? Right here. I was not being patient. I was looking for every little chance I could get because I was in a competition, so I was a little riled up. I was trying to get as much as I could. But I was not being patient. So this single peak div not playing out destroyed me. If I was patient and waited for that double peak, which I actually ended up trading anyway, but then I wasn't patient enough to play it out, I could have made that nice little scalp there. It's all about patience, man. Single peak, double peak. Same thing here. You have like that single peak, doesn't really play out, and then you have that double peak, and then it nukes it. That would have been a beautiful trade if you caught that trade. Also, with the Auto SR and the Renko, Spitox, if you're in here, the Auto SR, you can use the slow settings or the fast settings. It does very well on both. If you want to wait for a little bit more patient trades, the slow settings, you just turn off the fast. So the fast is going to give you basically every single support and resistance. The slow is going to cut out all the choppy ones, but it's a lot slower. I think it's like 3 times as slow, if I remember correctly. It's like 3 times as slow. It works very, very well with Renko, though. You can see how it calls these moves beautifully. Yeah, test out the slow, test out the fast, see which one you like. I like both. Right now I'm using fast because I'm scalping very low time frames. Before we get started, speaking about the indicators, guys, today's the last day to get 20% off with the one-time code. So if you guys want to purchase the one-time packages on our indicators, we have the 20% off code in the top right. Take a look at that. You can go to our website, take a look at the indicators. Yeah, if you guys have any questions on that, just feel free to let me know in Discord, Twitter, whatever. But all right, guys, I'm going to get started. Sorry, we're already almost an hour in. I haven't got started on the actual topic of today. Let's get started. If you guys are just coming in, this part of the video is going to be on our EXOCharts walkthrough part 2. If you haven't already, go back and watch part 1. It's going to be posted on our YouTube. And the first part, we went over how I use Delta on EXOCharts, and also how I use the volume profile on EXOCharts. So in this part of the walkthrough, it's going to be pretty short, but I'm going to go over how I use the tick chart. I'm using tick 230 for my scalping. And hopefully we can get some live examples here on the video as well. So first things first, why I use the tick chart. The tick chart looks for very small movements in Bitcoin's price action. And with the tick chart, I also use the delta cluster. So on the format here, you've got a bunch of different ways you can look at this. I use the delta cluster. You can also use the delta ladder. It looks the same, but it makes it a little smaller. But I use the delta cluster. It gives it a nice clean look on the greens being the up bars and the red being the down bars. And then also on my screen here, I have the CPL set as the DOM cluster and the CPR set as the volume profile. This is set as the volume profile for the current day, not the previous day. I also have the volume on the bottom, and then I have the delta bars, the CVD session on the bottom as well. This is a little hard to see, but why I put this on the bottom here is I want to see what is the overall CVD of the current session. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? Is it above 0? Is it below 0? Are we trending upward? Are we trending downward? I like to see those kind of things. So typically, if we are in like a bullish session, like we currently see on the tick chart, and it's trending upward, you could see these very clean higher lows being put in, which I'll talk about here in a second. Typically, you'll see a bullish CVD as well. And if they're trending in the same direction, that's usually a good sign that you want to be buying the dips and you don't want to be focusing on like selling the rallies or looking for big shorts. Because if the CVD is climbing with the overall price action, you can see here that it's kind of telling you this isn't the best scenario because this one is below 0, so it's bearish. If this kind of pattern was above 0 and it was bullish, this would be a very good scenario that you would want to be buying these little dips here. But what I was talking about earlier is one thing that I like to do on this tick chart on EXOCharts is I like to zoom out to basically as far as it will let me, where I can actually look at the data. And then I like to see the overall tick trend. And typically, it's actually very, very interesting how well Bitcoin likes to continue on its tick trends. So I can't draw on this. EXOCharts doesn't have a drawing tool, but I can use a snipping tool here to kind of give you an idea. But it's very crazy how often this likes to follow its trends. So it made a higher low here, which kind of broke this trend. But then all of these trends here were along this same tick trend. Like if you could draw a trend line, it becomes very obvious where these dips are being bought. And we've seen this go on for hours. So this is only from like 10:30 to 3:30. So this is for like 3 hours. This will go on for hours, sometimes days, if the tick trend is very strong. So make sure if you're using my technique and you're looking at the tick chart to zoom out, get a good understanding of where your tick trend is, and kind of get an idea of which way you're trending. And it becomes very obvious when the tick session is making lower highs or higher lows. Like we can see here that the tick trend was very bullish. You can see that the tick trend was very bullish. We are maintaining kind of this bullish structure. You broke this kind of interior trend back into the exterior trend, but then you continued higher, and then you tried to find support, but then you failed. And then look at what you did. You had a trend reversal here, and your ticks started trending downward, lower high, lower high. Then you had a kind of a fork here, even lower high, then you nuked. You can easily see on the tick trend, if you zoom out, which way your price action is trending. Now you can do this on like a candlestick chart as well. So like if you wanted to do this on like a 1 minute or something, it's kind of the same thing. You can see how the tick chart is very similar to like the 1 minute chart. But there are many times that the tick chart will pick up these trends that are not as clear on the lower time frame charts, like the 1 minute, the 5 minute. So the tick chart will show you kind of those little hidden trends. And more often than not, I have seen it break the trend on like the 1 minute, and you'll start to kind of trend a lot choppier, but it will be much cleaner on the tick chart. So you can compare them, but it's very similar. Okay, so that's one thing that I like to do. I like to zoom out and find the trends. And then also, if you guys are familiar with my accumulation distribution technique or my point of origin technique, I like using those techniques on the tick chart as well. Now, obviously, like I said, I can't draw on the chart, so it makes it a little difficult. You kind of have to visualize it. But for example, so let me see if I can find you an example here. Okay, so actually, this live example is perfect. So if you guys are familiar with my techniques, I like to look for kind of where these impulse moves originated from, right? So if we have a massive impulse move down, I like to see where did that originate from? Where is the point of origin of that move? And what you would see here is if you're doing that technique, you would see that this is the point of origin of that failure. That's that last little support before you started impulsing down, right? So if you're using this technique, you're going to find some resistance around that level, right? So that point of origin is going to be some resistance. It's also going to be a nice little target if you are trading the bottom here. So like if you like buying the bottom or buying the dip, that is a very good long-term target for your trade, right? So if you use my accumulation technique, you would see that we're putting in a low, we're putting in a high, and we kind of have that accumulation, right? And we have the low tested, and then we have the high tested. It pulls back to about the middle of the range, and then you find support off the middle of the range, and then you break out to the upside. So this is a very good long signal here. So if you took this long signal using my accumulation technique, you could have targeted this little cluster right here using my point of origin technique. And as you can see, it's very evident where the accumulation is, where the point of origin is on the tick chart. That's one way that I like to use it. Another way is, I don't know if I have any live examples here. The trend is a little too strong. Let me see if I can find some examples before I go into this next part. So here's a slight example, but it fails. So another thing that I like to do is, it's kind of like the point of origin technique, where I look for this massive change in momentum, right? So we have this kind of accumulation, and then we're shifting into an uptrend, right? So I like looking for where was that first place where it started finding resistance. So you have a little bit of clusters here and here. On the tick chart, you can see how it turns red a little bit. And then you have a big cluster here. This would be like the first major pullback, right? So I like finding where that first major pullback was after that shift in momentum. And that will typically give you a very good continuation point, like we kind of see here. It doesn't go as deep as I would like. Typically, I would like it to retrace into that zone before going higher. So it will give you that continuation point, and it will also give you a support if we start to curl back downward into that support. So I don't think this one was tested very... Actually, it was tested a few times, but it wasn't as clean. So you can see here that you have that first little pullback of that impulse. So this would be like your support, right? You're not tested as well as I would like. Like I said, I like it going a little bit deeper into that pullback, and then it finds support, and then it bounces out of it. But you do front run it a little bit, and then it nukes it. But this is a good example here. So if you were bearish and you were waiting for a good signal to short, this is a very good example on the tick chart, because this is your first major pullback of that trend shift, right? So that's going to give you that kind of continuation zone, or it's going to give you that pivot zone. And typically, if you guys have the OTS, this will typically be a pivot. So you guys can see that on the indicator. But so we have that zone for continuation or for a failure. And what do we see here? We fail it, we pull back to retest it, and then it nukes right after retesting it. So if you were bearish and you were waiting for a good signal, that's a good signal on the tick chart. You see that little bit of support come in, and then you nuke it. That's another technique that I like doing on the tick chart. And then one of the other techniques that I like to do is using the volume profile levels, like the daily value area low, the POC, the value area high. I'm not going to go over it too much because, like I said, it's just typically, it's just standard volume profile techniques. So if you guys understand my volume profile video, or I talked about a little bit in my first EXOCharts video, those volume profile techniques, I do the same thing using the tick chart as well. One good example of those techniques is if you are in a low volume scenario. So like if we're seeing a distribution or just a accumulation or a sideways trend, if you're seeing a low volume scenario, the daily value area high and the daily value area low and the POC, these are going to be basically where your range is on your low volume scenario. So typically in low volume scenarios, there is not enough momentum to break the value area high or break the value area low. When you attempt to do so, you'll typically pull back towards the POC. That is a very common technique for volume profile traders. And using the tick chart, you can really see how price is reacting to those levels. So like in today's volume profile, we're pretty balanced. We have a pretty balanced volume profile. We don't have very much volume. Let me see what the volume's like, because the tick volume is pretty standard. But let's look at the actual volume. Oh, I could pull this up on Delta. Actually, no, we do have a lot of volume here. So this would not be the best scenario to sell the value area high because we do have a lot of volume. So if this was a lower volume scenario, kind of like we saw here, where you have the very low volume, 17 million, 20 million, nothing too high. During those scenarios, it's a good place to look to sell the value area high and buy the value area low. Hey, Burnsy, I appreciate the resub, man. Been a while. Hope you're doing good, man. AK asked, how do you change from free to premium? I'm not sure, man. I have an affiliate account. They gave me an affiliate account to test on stream. I'm not partnered with them or anything. They don't pay me to make these videos or talk about them. They just gave me an affiliate account to test out on my live stream. So I'm actually not sure on that. I'm guessing if you go to the top left, go to the profile, it should have something up there. But okay, so a couple other things before we end the video. I do have a couple other techniques here. So what I like to see is currently what we're seeing now. So if I'm looking for a scalp, let's say I'm looking for a long here. Pay very close attention to your order book over here. This will shift into whatever direction price is moving, and it will become very obvious where the orders are flowing. Now, let me see if I can catch this live. Let's see if it wants to break out here. I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. You see how the blue is getting thicker and thicker, and the red is kind of not fighting back? That is typically what you want to see during a breakout or a bottom. You want to see the blue, which is the buy side, become very thick and bright and start to break out into the sell side, and vice versa if you're bearish. So let's see if this is a strong breakout. You will see this flip very bright, and this will become very dark. This will not be shaded in as light. We'll see if it happens. EXO only accepts crypto for premium. Okay, that's good to know. Okay, you see this? It's getting brighter and brighter while the order book is getting weaker and weaker on the sell side. Now you have to be careful because it can fake out a lot, so you have to kind of wait and see if it's real or fake volume. If it's real, it will stay bright as you're pushing higher. If it's fake, it will go bright, it will break out, and then it will disappear. So if you like trading swing failure patterns, it's actually a very good way to catch swing failure patterns. You'll see it get very bright, it will break out, and then it will disappear on the buy side. The sell side will get very strong, and it will nuke it. Yeah, so EXO is, most of their stuff is free. You have to pay for certain things. I'm not exactly sure what is in their paid system and what is in their free system. You would have to look into that. I'm not exactly sure on that. But like right now, if you were looking for this kind of double top scenario, where you see on the 1 minute we had kind of like a double top, 5 minute is currently breaking out. Hold on, let me catch this, make sure it's not breaking out. So I'm going to show this on EXOCharts so I don't miss it. But we currently have like a double top scenario, right? On the EXOCharts. It's almost like a cup and handle. This is where you really want to see that buy pressure coming in on if you're scalping, or even if you're long-term trading. If you're looking at the tick chart here and you're looking at the cluster, this really needs to start getting bright and you want to start seeing some buy pressure. We're currently not seeing that buy pressure. It is consolidating on that high, but you're not seeing the buy pressure. You see how it's starting to get thicker on the sell side? That's because the sellers are trying to hold this down. If the sellers get beat here, this will disappear and this will buy right into it. Is the blue coming down? Yes, so the blue, you can see how the blue is getting a little lower and the red side's getting a little thicker. That's because the sellers are trying to hold this down. If you see this thick blue push higher and this red disappears, that's when the breakout will occur. You can actually catch it. It's very quick, but if you're scalping, you can actually catch it before it happens. When I short here, You could short here without confirmation. You would have to have a very tight stop loss, though. I'd probably give it like $20. So like if you were scalping here, you could short this, put your stop loss above the daily value area high and above kind of where your resistance is. So around like 80, 40, 80, 45. It's not confirmed though. If we started to find that sell pressure, that would be better. But the problem is, if you look at this on like a minute chart or like a real candlestick chart, it's a hard short. It's a hard short. Because you are seeing a lot of buy pressure. Let's keep an eye on this. Let's see if we can get this live. It matched the SR line. Are you talking about on the Renko? Come on, Bitcoin. Give me a live example, please. It's going to sit here and do nothing for 30 minutes just because it knows I'm making a video. If you guys are watching this live, I'm probably going to cut this out of the highlight when I make the actual EXOCharts video. Hopefully this will give me a live example so I can highlight it. It's on the candlestick charts. Got it. Yeah, I don't want to take a look because I don't want to miss this. I want to see if I can catch this live. So one thing to note is the CVD is flipping bullish now. You see how the CVD is flipping bullish? It's positive 4 million. So like I was telling you guys earlier, when you have that strong uptrend... My mouse wheel is not cooperating. When you have that strong uptrend in price on the tick chart and that strong uptrend on the CVD and it's positive, that's a very, very bullish day. And you typically want to be buying the dips on a day like that. This is starting to look very bullish. You can see the order book is pushing higher. You don't have like really any sell momentum. There's like no volume though, so this could go either way. This is a hard trade. I'd say it's more bullish than bearish. You see how this, look at this. You see the sell book, the sell side? The offers are starting to get weak and weak. Now look at that. You see it? Now it's flashing blue. It's taking the sell side. The sell side is being beaten now. Do you see what the order book does? It makes it very obvious which side is being pushed. And when you have like big buy walls or big sell walls come in, so like when that 40 mil buyer was coming in all the way up back a few months ago, you could watch what he was doing to the order book. He would come in, he would put his order not up here, but he'd put it like a little bit lower, so somewhere around here, and then the offers would just vanish. They would get so scared of his buy wall that they would just vanish. And then the buyers, all the retail guys, would start putting their bids above his buy wall. And then he would push the price up and then it would fail downward. But when you have buyers or sellers like that, it's very easy to see what they do to the market when you're using this tick chart technique. You see how they're getting stronger and stronger? Think of this as like the front lines. Like if this is a battleground, these are like the front lines. The front lines are getting thicker and thicker towards the buy side, and they're getting weaker and weaker towards the sell side. If this wants to break out, you will see it. I won't have to alert you guys. You guys will see it. It'll become very obvious. I'm gonna have to cut all this out of the video. It's taking too long. Okay, here we go. You have about 4 million on the buy side now. You see how the sell side's getting weak. There's just no buy volume right now. The biggest problem. You're also at the daily value area high. So like I said, when there's low volume, it's very hard to break this level. You need volume to break this level. If you have a balanced volume profile, the high and the low of the value area, extremely hard to break on low volume. So if the volume does not come in here, you can see the volume down here. Look at how weak the volume is. If the volume does not come in here, you will fail to break the value area high. Look at the CVD though. Look at the CVD. So it looks like we're not really doing anything. The delta has already gained 2.3 million. Well, now it's failing. It already gained 2.3 million since the last time that I said something. So look at the volume. This is what I was talking about. You have low volume. You're not able to break the value area high on low buy volume. The sellers will protect this level. So right now, if you were who I was talking about earlier, if you're someone who likes to short kind of without confirmation, this is where your short would be okay. Now obviously it's still a risky short because there's no confirmation, but that little signal right there, that would have been where you short if you're a risky trader. And there you go. So the risky short was actually the good play there. So do you guys see what I mean? Did you guys see what happened on the left side? The buyers get very weak. Look at what's happening. The thick red is pushing the buyers down. There is no thick blue to protect the price. Will asks, do you ever look at open interest on EXOCharts? Not really. I don't really care about open interest. I've never been a person who trades based on that. But okay, so that was a very good live example because you guys were able to see that you were trying to break into a new high, but you had no volume, right? You had no volume. It was very hard to break the daily value area high on no volume. And you saw that before that started to nuke, what did you see on that tiny little, those two little bars right there? Those two little tick bars. You saw the volume spike up and engulf the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like all of these bars have no volume. That little 2 bar there had more volume than all of them. Not combined, but their peaks. It had more volume than all of their peaks. So that showed you that the sellers were protecting that level. Will asked, the daily value high would be considered the first trouble area. Yeah, so depending on what kind of profile you have, if it's like a balanced profile, the value area high is going to be a very strong sell point. The sellers are going to protect that level. Now, depending on if you have like a B shape or a P shape, it's a little different. The sellers will still protect it, but it's not going to be as aggressive. So now the CVD is flipping back to the bear side. Now this could still go up. This could still give you like a cup and handle. You can still use like candlestick techniques with the tick chart. It's a little difficult, but overall techniques, kind of like the cup and handle technique, you could still look for that. But if you took that short there, you'd be okay right now. Your stop loss is like what, $50 away, $40 away. You're in a decent scalp. Why the gap? It's just a it's a thing with the delta cluster. So there wasn't really any buyers there, so there's kind of a gap. It just sold right through it. Kind of like right here, it bought right through it, sold right through it. The gaps are they're not of big importance. I don't pay very much attention to them. But okay, so far, if you took that short, like I said, it was a little risky. Wasn't a lot of confirmation. Now this would be like where your confirmation is starting to come in, but now you have a weaker stop loss, right? Your stop loss is farther away. So it's really how do you want to trade this? But if you're in this short here, I wouldn't bring your stop loss down. I would leave your stop loss above the value area high. People make this mistake too often where you take that trade, it nukes downward, and you're like, oh, nice, I can just move my stop loss to break even. You don't want to do that, because what happens if it comes back and it retests the value area high? You're going to lose your trade. And then it might fail again. So you don't want to bring your stop loss down. I would say on a tick chart, you want to look for the trends, right? So look at this here. Before I draw it, what do you guys see? You see how clean that trend is? Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, all the way up. Very, very clean trend. So if you're in a short here, what do you want to see? You want to see this lose its uptrend. And then start to put in those lower highs. So where I would pull my stop loss down is if we lose that low, right? You see kind of that SR flip right there? You have resistance turn support. If you lose that level, then I would pull my stop loss down into in profit or just lower. Right? So now that you guys saw how the cluster reacts, you're currently still seeing it. You see how the cluster is reacting? Very deep red pushing into that empty space, if you will. Does this make sense to you guys? Do you guys have any questions? As always, guys, if you guys are watching the VOD, if you guys have any questions, put them in the comments. So there you go. Did you see what happened? You see what happened on the cluster? It becomes very obvious. But now the buyers are coming in. Look at the cluster. Now the buyers are coming in. They're trying to protect their trend. They lost their trend a little bit, but they're trying to protect it. Okay, so now that you see the cluster, let's zoom out and look at the trend. I've asked them to add a simple drawing tool, but they haven't added it just yet. It would be very helpful for just having like a pen. But look at that. Now we're losing that trend. So we could still retrace and retest that value area, but if it puts in a lower high here, now you're shifting into a downtrend. Very basic price action techniques. Now, what did I tell you guys at the start of the video? During a low volume scenario, you have the value area high, the value area low, and the POC, right? Those are your three most important levels on your volume profile, right? During a balanced profile. They're still important on the other profiles, but the balanced one is the most important. So, for the balanced profile, when you fail the value area high or you fail the value area low, you're always targeting that POC. So I'm not sure why it's saying the POC is here when the POC is actually here. Might be a little bug. But there's two POCs here. The daily POC is marked here, and then we also have one down here. Like I said, not sure why it's doing that, but the POC of the volume profile is where you want to target. So like if you shorted the value area high, you would be targeting the POC. Let me refresh this just to make sure that the POC is accurate. Okay, so I think this is the POC. I'm not sure what this bar is here. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's all my techniques for this scalping tick chart. I'm going to end the video here. We'll make some more EXOCharts videos in the future. But I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys have any questions or comments on EXOCharts or how I use EXOCharts, feel free to put them in the comment section on YouTube, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. I'm going to have this highlighted and cut up and put into a much easier video on YouTube pretty soon. But this, if you want to watch the live stream that you're currently watching, it's going to be the same exact video. But alright guys, if you guys like the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will be releasing more videos in the future. Thank you. Alright guys, I'm still hanging out. That was just the end of the video for YouTube. I'm still going to hang out with you guys for a little bit. Just wanted to make that video nice and short. Didn't want to drag it on too long. Let me see. Man said the order book is indicative of nothing, though. Most of the time, market orders are far more than limit orders. Yeah, so man, what I do when I'm using this scalping technique, I just started doing this again because I don't scalp. But when I am scalping, what I've been doing lately is, what is it, corn.lol? Yeah, corn.lol. So I've been doing this lately. I only use BitMEX and Bitfinex. 25k market orders, 5k on Bitfinex. I don't care about liquidations. I close all that. Oh, I don't want the sounds on either. And then I also pull one up for Ethereum. Same thing, BitMEX, Bitfinex, 10k orders. Don't care about liquidations, no sound. And then I'll have these. So I was actually thinking about putting this on our stream. I haven't figured out how to do it yet, though. if I ever do scalp on stream. But I'll make these really small, and I'll have these over on my other monitor. So I'll do something like this. Sorry, it's a pain in the ass to do on stream. So like I'll have these like on the side, and I'll overlap them a little bit, make it easier to see. And then you can just watch the orders come in. Yeah, it's corn.lol. Corn.lol. Well, I think I could test this. Let me see. Bear with me for a second, guys. I'm going to test this. Not letting me resize it, goddammit. Okay, so if I do this, let me see. Maybe window capture. No, that doesn't work. I think I know how to do this. 1 second. I don't think they don't have like screen region capture anymore. Display capture, color source, audio output, scene. Yeah, they don't have like a screen region capture. I don't think I'll be able to do it. I wanted to have them like on my widescreen monitor and then pull them up on stream every now and then. Just kind of click a button and then it'll pop them up. But there's no screen region capture, so not sure how I'll do that. I'll have to figure that out during my break. But look at that. Now we're kind of bouncing off the POC, right? So the daily value, this little scalp here, that's a pretty decent scalp. It's almost a $100 scalp. Which of course I missed because I'm on stream. That's fantastic. But that's a really decent scalp there. You could have traded the value area high all the way down to the POC. So to put that into perspective, that exact trade that we were just talking about, excuse me, would have shorted here. Stop loss would have been like $20. And then you would have targeted the POC. The POC was 79.39. So I think you got front ran a little bit. What's the low here? Yeah, so you got front ran a little bit. So your target would have been like here. So you could have taken profit once it started to pull back, or you could hold on to it to see if it hits your target. But either way, that's a hell of a trade. That's like a 3.8 to almost a 3.5 risk to reward. It's a very good scalp. Very, very good scalp. The Renko strategy called it too. Yeah, Renko strategy, massive bear div. There you go. You also had a pivot bar. You had a pivot bar in the OTS. There you go. Man, I hate that they took away... Why did they take away green region? It has to be on here somewhere. I'm not sure why window capture is not working either. Just blacking it out. You see how this turns black? Eh, whatever. I'll mess with it later. What I could do is I could just have them over here. And I could just tab into them, I guess. Kind of irritating, though. That's the smallest I can make them, I think. I can't make them any smaller. Actually, let me see. It won't, it's so stupid. It won't let me get to that, there it is. It's irritating you can't have multiple ones in the same window. Professional streamer, guys, by the way. Professional streamer. God, I fucking hate when it does that, dude. Professional streamer. Damn it. Now I gotta grab the resize thing on this one. Of course, it won't show me the resize thing. You gotta love that, dude. What a good design. Let's hide the resize thing below the settings bar. Fantastic work. Fantastic. Alright, enough of that. I know you guys hate me. Probably gave you all a headache. Man said, I wonder if there's a website that keeps track of liquidations. EXOCharts does it, and Skew does it as well. Where's Skew? I think I have Skew somewhere. Skew. Yeah, liquidation's right here. Skew has all the data, man. There you go. Skew.com. Yeah, EXOCharts has the, if you go, it doesn't have like overall data, but it shows you liquidations. If you go to Rect, it shows you where they're being liquidated. So green are when shorts are being liquidated, red are when longs are being liquidated. You have a lot of liquidations, then you reverse. A lot of liquidations, then you reverse. Typically what you'll see, like because Bitcoin loves to liquidate people and then reverse, you'll see a lot of liquidations towards tops and bottoms. But then if it's a really strong trend like this, you're not going to see a bottom. You're just going to see liquidations. Look at how many people got liquidated. What's crazy is people who were shorting also got liquidated. A couple of people got liquidated here, but nothing too major. Yeah, Spitox, the name of their website's ridiculous. Corn.lol. Pretty decent sell orders coming in. Well, they get liquidated on their, they're not using like cross, so they're not getting liquidated on their entire account. I mean, some of them probably are, but a lot of those people are just getting liquidated on their trade. They're not getting liquidated on the account. Because you can get liquidated on the trade and still have plenty of money to trade with. Will said daily, monthly levels would be cool. Would be a cool OTS feature. Do you mean just having like just lines to show you the daily and monthly, like opens and stuff? We could do that pretty easily. We couldn't do the, we can't do like the value area high, value area, we can't do stuff like that. That's, I don't think TradingView, if it has it, it's extremely hard to code. The thing with TradingView is they, volume profile is like their baby. They don't like you messing with it when you're coding. There's not a whole lot of code that you can do with the volume profile. TradingView doesn't like it. It doesn't offer a lot of open source code for it. A lot of the code doesn't work. But what we could do is we could do like open, close, stuff like that. We could do like the easy levels. High, low. There are indicators for that on TradingView already. But we could implement it into the OTS. It would kind of be like a, just like an add-on. A lot of buys coming in here. Bouncing right off the POC. Yeah, definitely, man. You want to use a stop loss instead of getting liquidated. When you get liquidated, it takes, um, it's you're being liquidated before your actual like liquidation price, right? Or before your actual, like if you do the math to see like, okay, what percentage can I risk before I get liquidated? It's a little bit before that because they have to get their liquidation fee and they have to protect themselves, right? There's a battle going on here. A lot of big orders on both sides. Why does it have these other exchanges? I thought I turned them off. It literally says they're off, dude. Oh god. Let's use Coinbase though. I like Coinbase. What'd you say, man? You said it would be strange if we start climbing up now with a lot of people stuck in the 8K to 8.5 range. I thought we would consolidate a bit in this area. Yeah, I agree. It would be a little strange if we just retraced and filled the gap immediately, because typically Bitcoin would want to liquidate all those people, kind of like me, who are stuck in the last range. So it would be a little weird if it started to pump here without at least trying to liquidate those people. Did you see what just happened there? You see how it tried to push it down on the cluster? But then no market orders were coming in? And it kind of failed to push it down there? That's what you were talking about earlier, man. You were saying, like, market orders are strongest, right? That was a good example there because you could see the cluster was trying to push the price down in the order book, but there were no big orders coming in on the market orders. That was a very good example of that. So see, now the cluster is turning red. Now watch the orders. You saw a bunch of orders come in. They're not that big, about 25K, 50K, but it's following the cluster. Now, what I've found in the past couple of days, getting back into scalping, is for these small little moves like this, if Ethereum is not following Bitcoin, they typically are going to consolidate, or it's like a fake out. If they follow each other, so like if this gets deep red and this gets deep red on Ethereum, it's typically a good sell-off or a good buy-up if it's green, right? So if Ethereum follows, it's typically a good move. If Ethereum doesn't follow, it's most likely a fake out. Let's go back to like candlesticks here. That Renko div did play out a little bit here. Didn't completely pull back. Royal Caribbean's down 60%. Jesus. Yeah, I know Carnival Cruise, like all the cruise lines are doing very, very bad. Like CCL getting absolutely destroyed. This is before earnings too, man. Think about when their earnings come in and it shows that damn near nobody was going on cruises. The U.S. State Department just released last week and told Americans that they should not be going on cruises. They didn't say you're not allowed to. They said you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. So they're still allowed to, but when the State Department's telling you not to go on cruises, it's pretty bad. My mom actually has a cruise in a few weeks, actually not too far away, which she's been trying to cancel, or she's been thinking about canceling. And she said that there's people reporting on Twitter and other social media that they've been sitting on hold with Carnival Cruise Lines for hours, and they're just not answering the phones because they know that people are going to cancel. So, it's pretty bad. I think Carnival's going to be getting hit pretty hard. You can't just ignore your customers because you know they're going to cancel. Does Norwegian have NCL? I don't think Norwegian has a stock. Let me see. Oh, they do. It's NCLH. NCLH. Yeah, same exact chart as Carnival. Look at that, dude. Jesus, they're at an all-time low. That sucks, too, because they're a really nice cruise line. If you guys like cruises, I think Norwegian is by far the best that I've been on. Honestly, I hate to be the guy to say this, but buying the dip on these cruise lines might not be a terrible idea. You know what I mean? It's a pretty fucking risky play. Maybe after earnings? Maybe buy the earnings sell-off? Honestly, though, man. Like, how long are the cruises going to do bad? Like, once the coronavirus is kind of dealt with, which who knows how long that's going to be. But once the coronavirus is dealt with, they're not dropping because their company sucks. They're dropping because people aren't going on cruises because the coronavirus. It's not a well, it's a revenue issue, so it's definitely a company issue. But you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, Norwegian fucking sucks, man. I'm not going on Norwegian anymore. Boycott Norwegian. It's not like that. It's just like, dude, I'm not going on cruises. There's a virus spreading. All these cruise ships are spreading the virus like a petri dish. Like, that's why people aren't going on cruises. It's not because they're shitty. So after their next earnings is going to be terrible. There's no doubt in my mind that all these companies, their next earnings is going to be terrible. Because how the hell are their earnings going to be good if nobody is going to hotels, nobody's going to casinos, nobody's going on cruises? There's no chance their earnings are going to be good. So maybe, just maybe, buying the dip after the earnings blood might not be a bad play. Might not be a bad play. What'd you say? The Royal is bouncing off the 3-month OTS? Royal Caribbean? It is, yeah. It's also bouncing off the 100 EMA. Look at that massive bear div. You see that massive bear div? The Momo predicts coronavirus, man. The Momo predicts coronavirus. That's a 60% bear div. Holy shit. That's almost 100%. Yeah, so like a 60 to 80% bear div. Jesus, dude. Thing is getting obliterated. Thoughts on Uber? I can take a look. I mean, my thoughts on everything is everything's dying. It's bouncing off this weekly pivot, though. Nice little support. I think Uber's going to get hit hard, too, though. Because if people aren't going out, and so like, why do people need Ubers, right? People need Ubers when they're going out to bars and shit, and they're doing all these social activities, right? If people aren't going to social activities or events, think about all the events, dude. Think about all the events that were canceled this year. South by Southwest, never been canceled in its 34 years of running. Canceled. TwitchCon, canceled. I think they're canceling Coachella. I don't think they decided on that yet. There's a bunch of other events I can't remember. PAX East, I think, or one of the PAXs got canceled. There's events in Europe that got canceled. That Uber makes a lot of money off these events, dude. Uber makes a lot of money off the events. Uber makes a lot of money off people going out to social events or just social areas like bars. And if the coronavirus gets bad like it is in New York, nobody's going out. If nobody's going out, Uber doesn't make any money. Do you guys provide option calls? No, we don't provide signals or anything. We actually don't trade options right now. We were trading them for a little bit, but we don't trade them currently. But when we did trade options, we posted our trades. So like, we don't post calls, but we post our trades. I'm thinking about getting back into options. I have an IRL buddy who's been doing well in options, and he wants to talk to me about working together and doing some things. So I'm going to talk to him pretty soon. I'm not very good at options, to be honest. I need to learn more about options. I'm very bad at picking expirations. I can pick the trades. I'm very bad at picking the expirations. I called out Caesar, which played out fucking beautifully because of coronavirus. One of you guys in Discord reminded me about this call. I called out the short here down to $12. It nuked past $10. Another one that I called out that I ended up not trading, because I don't trade options right now, was Boeing. And somebody called out today. Who was it? Let me see. I think it was Slytherin. He changed his name, but it was Slytherin Crest. Said he's up 400% on the Boeing options. Ridiculous. Let me see. Did I miss anything? Man said it's a temporary event. Yeah, it definitely is. They already contained it. Yeah, China's doing a... Yeah, but China's a different story. China is a very collectivist nation. And they're communists. They can basically just control their people as much as they want. America's a different story. It's much harder for America to contain stuff like this. That's why it really surprises me that the world is allowing China to do this time and time again. Now look at the past major diseases that spread across the world. The majority of them came from China, and the world is doing nothing to make China prevent these diseases. But China, like I said, very collectivist. They're communist. They have very strong control over their people. So they can do really what they want to stop the spread of the virus. They're also very good. That's one thing about communism. They're very good at putting their resources together for stuff like this. That's like the only good thing about communism. Let me see. Sneaky said consumer confidence is like a Jenga brick tower, very fragile and hard to build up. Once it topples, it will be a while before booking and revenue recovers. Yeah, I agree. It would be a long-term play for sure. Momo predicts everything, yeah. Will said, I'm in Austin and people are so shocked that South by Southwest was canceled. I think they're taking Corona a lot more seriously now. Oh, for sure, dude. That event has literally never been canceled. And it's in existence. And that event brings... I don't want to get this number wrong, but I think it's billions of dollars. I don't think it's millions. I think it's billions. I think it pumps billions of dollars into the economy in Texas. Yeah, they closed the wet market in like the first couple of weeks because that's where they were saying it originated from, which ended up being bullshit, but sorry guys, got allergies. I've been leaving my windows open because it's been nice outside. The pollen gets to me. China's problem is they just don't give a shit about their pollution. They just pollute everything. I mean, don't get me wrong. China's not the only country that pollutes everything. The whole world is polluting everything. But China, if you look at their pollution numbers compared to other countries per capita, and look at what they're polluting, like their rivers and whatnot, it's horrendous. And then their wet market is the thing with China is their culture is unlike any culture around the world. Like they have very similar cultures with Southeast Asian countries, but besides that, their culture is very, very different. So it's hard for the rest of the world to kind of what's the word? Sympathize with what they're doing over there. But yeah, I would say once the um once America gets the coronavirus under control, like our cases stop going up and they start going down, that's when you want to start looking to buy the dips on a lot of these companies that are nuking. They might still bleed for a little bit, but if you take the time and build some positions, it might not be a bad idea. But that's when I'm going to start looking to buy, is when the cases in America start going down and not up. Like in China right now, they're going down. Hey AK, yeah, the value area high got rejected hard. We showed that live on stream. He said good short if we had additional confirmation. Yeah, so the additional confirmation, like this, I talked about this on stream as well. Alexa, stop. Sorry, my Alexa's listening to me. I also talked about on stream looking for that trend break and then looking for that retest and then that lower high. So there's that confirmation again. Pretty much this whole move I called out, and I made $0 off it because I'm streaming. But yeah, so this little move here, you broke your uptrend, and then you retested it into a lower high. I called this out beautifully. So if you guys watch the VOD, it'll be a nice little treat. Oh, sorry, Sneaky. You wanted me to look at one more thing. What'd you say, team? Take a look. This is actually holding up nicely. I don't know what this is. This is actually holding up nicely compared to the rest of the market. You had a buy signal on the weekly come in. Monthly is still holding its 12. Massive bear div on the monthly, though. Daily had a bear div, which pulled back here. Bouncing off the 200 EMA. It's pretty choppy now that the market's getting a little crazy, but it's holding up well on the weekly. If it holds like this lower pivot, I think it'd be a good idea to get into it. Not too bad. Definitely not one of the worst charts I've seen lately. Not the market actually did quite well today. Nice little recovery. Kind of had a double bottom here. 80% bear div incoming, yeah, really. You're bouncing off the 618 that we were talking about on the Fibonacci move from back in 2018 low to the 2020 high. Bounced right off that 618. You also almost bounced off the weekly 200. which we called out in our summary of markets. If you guys read the write-up, we called the $31 target on oil pretty much perfectly, and we called this low here on the SPY. Hopefully you guys are reading into that write-up. We will have a new write-up this Sunday. Make sure to catch up with that. Yeah, oil's getting destroyed here. Looking to fill that gap, it seems. Ethereum bouncing off the 200 EMA on the daily. Bitcoin rejecting its double pivot here. This looks like one pivot. It's actually two. There's two pivots here. It broke it, and now it's retesting it as resistance, so that's not good for the bulls. You're also failing to break a 4-hour pivot. You're also getting a sell signal on the 1 hour, and you're failing the 618 retest. You are forming a 12-hour bull div, though. Look at the 12-hour. Bull div coming in, along with a pivot. You're also forming a daily, but it's not confirmed. Weekly, very choppy, no signals. Renko losing steam here. Look like you're trying to find support here, kind of like a double bottom. Hey, Rum, what's going on, man? Just watching it burn, huh? Watching the whole world burn. Dead cat bounce? It's hard to say, man. I'd be very scared to be in a big short here because of the CME gap, but I'd also be scared to hold a long, so this is a scary time, man. My second largest account is in cash. My my Interdax account is in cash besides my part of it that I'm using for competitions. Actually, my second account, my Coinbase, is half in cash, half in Bitcoin. I just got back into some Bitcoin recently on these lows. Still 50% in cash, though. Yeah, man, I think a lot of people are confused, Rum. That's the problem. Man said, check Ethereum BTC. I think we break the next support. I haven't looked at Ethereum BTC in a while. Let's take a look. Very strong triangle on the daily. Or sorry, on the 1 hour. Daily distribution. Yeah, I'd say you're pretty bearish. You could kind of look at the distribution off this candle body here. Grab the low. You see how you're not able to regain the 50%? Pretty bearish. Negative momentum as well. Yeah, it looks like it wants to roll over. The weekly's not that bad, but you did fail. Look at that pivot. You failed the pivot almost perfectly. I wouldn't be extremely bullish on anything right now. Stocks, crypto, really anything. If you want to start buying some crypto like spot long term, that's not a terrible idea. But with margin and whatnot, I'd be very careful. All right, trader. Smokey mentioned me on Twitter. Just reading his messages. Bitcoin can't decide what it wants to do, man. It's just so choppy right now. The climate is just so choppy. Spitdoc said, I think the being in cash now is definitely the right choice. Yeah, I definitely think that if I had a better setup on my long, I'd be happy, but if I wasn't in my long, I'd want to be in cash for sure. That was the play in the stock market for sure. I fucked up big time on stocks. I took the wrong side of the coronavirus, and the coronavirus beat my ass. I know next time there's a pandemic and it starts to grow exponentially like that, I'm shorting airlines, I'm shorting cruise lines, I'm shorting hotels. It's so obvious in hindsight. I think I even talked about it on stream a few times, but I just never pulled the trigger and never put my money where my mouth was and really got heavily invested in puts. The only one we really talked about was Caesars. I talked about shorting Caesars. We talked about Boeing. It's so easy in hindsight, man. I never thought it would spread that quickly, country to country. Like, what was that? Less than 2 months, it was in almost every continent. Insane, dude. Yeah, so I'm down like 10% on one of my longs on Bitcoin, which is not terrible. It's a long-term position anyway, that I'm building into June. On my stocks, I took a beating. I'm down like 25%, 30%. But it's only 20% of my overall trading wallet. Probably a little less now, obviously. But yeah, I took a beating on my stock portfolio as well. Still positive on the past couple of quarters on my trading wallet, especially because of Crypto, I've been doing quite well. I had a bad month last month and not doing too well this month as well. But I've been focusing on other things, so I'm not beating myself up too much on my trading because I have not been focusing on my trading. My trading has not been my number one focus, and it clearly shows in my results. But yeah, not too bad. I'm getting hit pretty hard from the recession, if you will, but definitely not as bad as it could be. It's funny because before this massive market bleed, this is like an all-time high for my trading wallet. My stocks weren't doing too bad. My crypto was doing fantastic. I was at an all-time high for my overall trading wallet. And then boom. you get to your peaks and you got to have a pullback eventually, you know? But all right, guys, my throat's getting pretty sore. We're coming up on 2.5 hours on the stream. Like I said, I am going to be taking a break for a little bit on stream. I'm going to be taking about a week off. So I'm not going to be streaming Thursday. I'm not going to be streaming Saturday or Sunday, and we'll be back on Tuesday. So next Tuesday, I'll see you guys. But I'm gonna take a week off. I'm still gonna be in Discord every day. I'm still gonna be doing my normal stuff. I'm just not gonna be streaming. When we get back, I'm going to change my stream schedule a little bit. So my new stream schedule coming back is gonna be a little earlier. I'm trying to push everything a little earlier so I don't sleep as late. I don't stay up as late. I want to fix my sleep schedule. I want to fix my stream schedule. I want to get back into focusing on my trading because, like I said, I haven't been focusing on my trading too much lately, and I'm taking a hit on my wallet because of that. So I want to get back into my trading. Need to get back into really making it a priority. We should have my partnership done. We have a big partnership coming up that I'm going to reveal to you guys probably by the time that we get back on stream. And yeah, so I'll be back on Tuesday. Like I said, the stream schedule will be the same days a week, probably Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, just pushed a little earlier. So probably streaming around like 1 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, Thursday. Saturday will probably be around 2 p.m. Eastern. And then Sunday, we'll be streaming the same time, the daily close, to do our weekly write-up. And then we'll do a little recap and start off the new week. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys being here. I hope you guys will be coming back next week and checking me out, and hopefully you guys don't go anywhere. I hope to get caught up on YouTube as well. I'll have all these videos posted on YouTube, hopefully by the time that I get back. But yeah, man, hopefully I see you guys in Discord. If not, hopefully I see you guys when we get back next week. But all right, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys coming by and watching my stream every day or even every other day. You guys mean a lot, man. I appreciate you guys supporting me. But yeah, I will see you guys. I will be back. I'm not going to take a few months off or anything. I'll be back next week. Just taking a little time, finishing up my work and getting back at it. But all right, guys. You guys stay safe. If you guys need me, like I said, I'll be in Discord. Just hit me up. All right, guys. Have a good night. I'll see you guys next week. Peace out, guys.